Just finished week 60 of the trading challenge, trading from $100 to $1 million. Currently at 39.2k. Last week we were at 42.5, so we're down 3.2k again. Crypto took a pretty big dump this week, and pretty much everything is down. So to only be down 3k is not too bad. But we'll go through the charts in a minute. For now, we'll look at the trades. So Richard Hart actually released his new pre-sale, that token we were on about last week. And yeah, so he was talking about Mr. Prove, which was his first idea, and there was a few meme coins of it. These weren't actually his coins, and I'll talk about what he's actually doing in a bit. But there's a bunch of DGen plays basically, and I got into a few of them. Like here was like 650 profit, tiny gains, right? And then we took a few losses on some like derivatives, but overall about $500 of profit. There's not really much to show. I'll just show, I guess, this Mr. Prove one, which I think was this one. So Mr. Prove was his first idea of the name, and there's not really much to show. I was just trading on the launch and legit traded like these tiny swings over here and put in 1.3, took out 1.9, $500 profit, right? Nothing to really talk about there. But minor gains across the trading side of things, and I also took a position on P Tiger. We'll have a look at that. So this is Tiger Crypto Gods. He's a pretty well-known name in the polishing community, and this chart's just going sideways right now, and it's just chopping around at like 1.5 to 2 mil area, right? So the idea is, it's going to break out probably in the next day or so. It's dipping right now, but it's either going to go up like 2-3x or it's going to dump like 50%. So that's pretty much the bet I'm taking. Either lose like 30 to 50% of my money, which I put in $1,000, so lose like $300, or make 1 or 2k. There's not too many new trades right now, so these are the kind of trades I have to take, and yeah, we're looking at 1 or 2x, or like 2 to 3x, I mean, or maybe lose about 30%. So yeah, that's the kind of trading side of things. The portfolio, still we're holding MOG. We have our IMF position, and we have about 57.9k in MOG. And the portfolio on Pulse, we have 1.6k, and it's in Tiger and Pulse Chain. So let's get into the Pulse Chain side of things, right? Richard Hart, he made a new coin, and he's doing a pre-sale again, right, which is crazy work. And he's basically just getting people to make all of the shit for him, like the logo, the website, all of that. And it doesn't look very well put together. It kind of looks like he's just going with the flow, and he just had an idea and he's making everyone else do the shit, and he's just paying people in the community to make the website and all that. But essentially it's some kind of privacy, like peer-to-peer thing. I don't really know. I haven't even checked it out, to be honest. I don't really care. I'm not doing the pre-sale, and I don't do that shit. So when he announced it, and he announced that he's doing a pre-sale, he said essentially that you can't pre-sale your Pulse Chain coins, and that caused the chain to dump like 20-30% in one candle. So you can see here it dumped 30%. I sold the second he tweeted it, and I pretty much missed this whole dip, but I don't really have much in Pulse Chain, so it didn't really matter anyway. But yeah, I bought back in, I think yesterday or today at these lows, and yeah, so that's the Pulse Chain side of things. Rich is making a new project, another pre-sale, which is crazy work, but it got a lot of people to sell the low or this kind of dip. So hopefully, that's like the 100th bottom signal. But we'll have a look at the bigger market, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they dipped very hard this week. So Bitcoin is down 8% right now, and that is a big dip. We've dipped around 25% from the all-time high, which isn't crazy. Normally we dip like 32-33% this cycle. So it's like, it is technically a normal dip, but there's so much fear in the market here because obviously we're at the end of the 4-year cycle, so people are like naturally thinking that it's over. And then you also have all of this everything that we normally have, like the 50-week SMA, we've broke below that, right? Which historically, in all of Bitcoin's history, is like your cycle's over, right? And then you also have your weekly super trend, which is, it's right on there right now. And I want to see it close above it, because every time it closes below, it pretty much is over. Like, this is where it closed below the support of the 50, or not the weekly, the super trend. And you can see, there's a big downtrend after that. Same over here. This bit is like the only kind of time that it didn't do it, right? So it dipped below, and then it did make a new all-time high after. So, it could do something like that, but really we just want to see it close above 96K this week and bounce off of it. Otherwise, the chances of the cycle being over are higher. So yeah, that's kind of Bitcoin, right? We're on a big dip. There's a lot of fear in the market right now, which we can have a look on this. The fear and greed index is finally in extreme fear, right? Which historically, this cycle has been a very good time to buy. You can see over here, you had 1 day and then 2 days. The second day into extreme fear was the exact bottom, right? Or the first major dip, and it did make a double bottom. So, maybe we see something like that again. I personally think, we won't do like a double dip into it this time. We'll bounce out of this dip pretty hard. So yeah, we are in extreme fear, which, this cycle has been a very good time to buy, right? Buy your altcoins, buy Bitcoin, anything, right? Another thing which I've been noticing on this dip is Ethereum is actually holding up better, right? So you can see Bitcoin's only at 1.7, whereas Ether's up 3.5, and it was the same on the dip. You can see Ethereum's down 10%, Bitcoin's down 8%, but when it was dipping, you could, like on these last days, you have 5% down on Bitcoin, whereas Ethereum yesterday was only down 3%, right? So it's nothing crazy, but it's like you're starting to see a little bit of strength on Ethereum and, more weakness on Bitcoin. So hopefully that's like an indication of people rotating. Also, your super trend on Ethereum, we're right there. I don't want to see this close below, because even if we were to close below and go back up, it's still like, if you take a look at Ethereum's history, if it goes red, it's like at least 100 and something days on average, like 110 days of kind of shit price performance. So, that would be shit. And obviously that's like, March next year before we kind of even have any kind of rally again, if we somehow had a super long cycle. So yeah, I definitely want to see Ethereum and Bitcoin pretty much pump from where we are today. Like, I don't want to see us go any lower, because, it probably is over at that point. So yeah, we're in extreme fear. We're on kind of the last kind of copium support levels before, shit gets bad. And another thing we have is Bitcoin dominance, right? So Bitcoin dominance is now dipping whilst Bitcoin is dipping. So that's showing that there's more strength in altcoins, and, that's a good thing for us. So you can see we have a gravestone doji on the weekly. We're now flipping red. Super trend on the daily has flipped red. Obviously it hasn't closed today, but hopefully we close down here, and that could be the start of the next move down. And then your monthly also has a gravestone doji. So Bitcoin dominance is actually looking really bearish. Ethereum is showing strength against Bitcoin, and, everything's kind of somewhat lining up. If we hold these support levels, like on, Ethereum and Bitcoin, I think we're in a pretty good place to pump, and we should actually be fine. What else can we talk about? Others / BTC. This thing is actually showing strength as well, right? So you can see you're making a W formation, and we made a higher low, and it's actually looking okay for once, right? You also have your monthly chart, which is actually a bullish pattern, right? So we have, if I turn this off, you can see you have a falling wedge, which is a bullish pattern, and normally they break up, and altcoins are obviously super wrecked right now. So yeah, I'm actually pretty bullish on this chart. This is a nice bottom coming to the end of the pattern, and ideally, next month we should break out of this. And last time you had a rally off this, it was pretty quick, 120 days, and that was your May top, where, in my opinion, that was the real retail top. It did go higher after, but this is where everything was insane in March, or in May, 2021. So if we was to repeat something like that, it's only March next year, and that would be, it's not that far away really, is it? So overall, I think we're in a decent position for like the main markets. Total 3 as well, looking completely fine. Let me check that on log. You can see we're on that support line right now, and we're bouncing off of it. So hopefully everything plays out decently. Altcoins are finally showing a little bit of strength. The other thing to talk about is MOG. So MOG, regardless of everything else being down, you can see it's only down like 0.25%, which is crazy, right? Everything else on the week, let's go take a look at like SPX. The weekly candle is down 23%. Pepe is down 15%. And then there's MOG, down not even 1%. So the news that MOG had was it had a filing for like a canary file for S1 ETF, right? Which is like really bullish news, obviously, which is why it's held up and not dipped down like everything else. That could still change, there's plenty of time for it to go down. Most of the memes compared are like down here right now. So maybe if we didn't have that news, MOG would probably be around 100 mil right now. That's kind of how the market is. But overall, like if we do bottom here, like we should be pretty fine. Against Ethereum as well, looking bottomed. And if we have a look at the RSI, you can see there's a big fat double bottom on that, and it's oversold. So, everything's looking decent. I want to just see us basically bounce from here. I don't want to see us go any lower. I don't want to see those super trends flip red, because that is like stupidly bearish, right? We've had a clean uptrend this whole time. So basically I'm just looking for Bitcoin to close above 96k and Ethereum to hold this level at 3k. And then it should be good, hopefully, going towards the end of the year and have a nice little rally. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. We're at around around 39k, and holding MOG. We have a few trades on Pulse Chain, and that's all. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all next week. Ta-ra.